Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Kustas, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Rise to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Kustas, and I am so thrilled that you are here today with us. Today is really special, not just because of who my guest is, but really because of who she represents. And if you're a child of the 80s or 90s, you will probably know when I say this name, Tiger Beat. Maybe it's Bop Magazine. I don't know about you, but I had those magazines stashed in my room, and I'm going to tell you that if they were stashed in your room, they will have also been full of her famous siblings on the cover. I'm talking about Growing Pains' Kirk Cameron and Full House's Candace Cameron Bure. But today, it is really going to be Bridgette's story, and that's the one that we're here to tell. And Bridgette Cameron Ridenour has a story of her own. And let me tell you, it is powerful. After growing up in Hollywood and living in the shadows of fame, Bridgette is now stepping fully into her purpose as a speaker, encourager, and the best-selling and award-winning author of Overlooked. This is a memoir that speaks straight to the heart of anyone who has ever wondered, do I really matter? In the middle of a terrifying, life-altering family moment, and we'll get into that, Bridgette found herself turning back toward God, her family, and the truth that has become her life anchor. And there is a verse in the Bible, we'll also be talking about that. It is Jeremiah 29:11. And today, Bridgette speaks to women all across the country about the power of purpose, God's perfect timing, and the deep joy that comes when you realize you were never forgotten and you were always being positioned. So let's dive into a conversation that's going to move your heart, encourage your soul, and remind you just how seen you really are. So Bridgette, welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast. I am so honored to have you here today.
Oh my goodness, Noelle, it is so great to be here. So great to see you. I feel like we see each other on social media, but like I miss you in the desert. Like I miss you around here.
No, I feel the same. And it's funny. In the summertime, I love to be able to do a little escape out of there, but it's still home, right? So I always love when I get to be there and just do life. It's a special place for sure. So I love that, these are the great things about social media. I always tell women, I know social media can be one of those places where it can be frustrating and it can be a lot, but then there's this beautiful part of it that we get to stay in connection, and we get to, even if we're far away from each other, we still feel like we have that bond, so
yes. Well, thank you again for having me. This is so great.
I am so excited. And yeah, I know before show we were just talking about we had some friends that on my Instagram account, we have this new thing where we have our guests and our listeners listen to and chime into the podcast of what we're going to be talking about. And so they had some questions for you. We're going to keep those towards the end because we'll do a little rapid fire fun stuff.
Okay.
I just would love to dive in because I know there is so much to talk about. And your story is really so beautiful, and that's why I'm just so excited for other women to be able to hear that today. And I know that you wear a lot of hats. You are a wife, you're a mom, sister, speaker, author. I mean, it just keeps growing. Today, I really just want to have our listeners hear from you. So I would love to know, beyond the roles and all of the responsibilities that you have, how would you introduce yourself to someone meeting you for the first time and who you are at the core as Bridgette Cameron Ridenour?
Wow, what a question.
We're just gonna get it right out there today, girl.
Let's just dive in. First and foremost, I'm a child of God, and I'm a sister in Christ. And that's how I would introduce myself. Yes, having two famous siblings is, fun and exciting and, all of that. But, and I love my family dearly. I love my siblings. A lot of people don't even know that there's four siblings in the Cameron family. So when
Yes.
they meet me, they're like, "You're related to?" And I say yes, and there's one other sister that you don't even know about either. So that's always fun. But I want people just to get to know me, and what I'm about, and my story, and share my story. And making new friends and godly relationships are just so important, especially now at my age. Those women friendships are so important to me. And so um, that's just a little bit about me.
I love it. Okay. Well, we're going to dive even deeper, but we obviously, people are always intrigued. And, you did grow up in Hollywood. You were surrounded by that fame. What was that like for you personally, especially as the sister watching your siblings become these household names? What was that like?
It was kind of a whirlwind. I mean, Kirk started when he was 9. Candace started when she was 6. Um, and my parents were really great as keeping us together as a family when they would go on the set or do certain things. If she could bring Melissa and I to set, we would go. And because Melissa and I were, 8 and, 7 at the time, it was, it just felt natural. It wasn't like this some crazy thing. Because I think it was because we started when we were so young. There was the really great times of being in Hollywood, and there were the really dark and ugly times and scary times. But for the most part, I would have to say, growing up with my siblings being who they are in the industry, it was an absolutely incredible experience because of the people that we got to meet, the things that we got to do. Um, and yes, we absolutely could have gone that direction if my parents did not keep us
Mhm.
together as a family. Um, but I'm just so thankful that um, God had his hand over us during that time because he knew how he was going to use our family, down in our journey. But yeah, I mean, having a brother being like the biggest teen heartthrob of, the 80s was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Going around in my what, junior high and high school days of walking by some people's lockers and having their picture in their locker was kind of crazy,
Yeah.
and doing some public appearances and having the fans and all that kind of stuff. It was kind of nuts, but it was fun at the same time, and
Yeah.
so I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Oh, I love that. And, and I love what you had mentioned. And I think that it's something that as I've watched this kind of evolve for your family and just the things that you have shared, what has always stuck out to me is that I feel like your family really kept you grounded in all of this, and that you were a part of it. I mean, there is a question at the end, and it's my own personal question. I'm not going to bring it up yet, even though I want
Okay.
to, because this would be a perfect time to do that. But I
And I
also
think I might know what your question is, but we'll get there.
but I loved that you also got to live this normal life, but also be a part of it. And it became kind of that normal experience. And I
Mhm.
really commend parents that, are able to navigate that. I have another friend that's kind of experiencing the same thing where, her daughter has evolved into this huge thing. And
Yeah.
but they're still navigating their family as well. And so I feel like I've always felt really like, gosh, what a testament to parents to be able to do that. And so that part is really beautiful. Um, Now, curious, I know your book is called Overlooked. So can you take us back to a moment when you did truly feel overlooked in that experience? And what did that experience do to your sense of identity and confidence during that time?
Yeah. You know, I was really the one that wanted to be in the industry. I was the one that wanted to be I was the performer in the family. My mom took us to go see the Hollywood agent at the young ages that we were because of me. I was the little performer, not my brother, not my sisters.
Mm.
And so that day that we went to Hollywood, um, Kirk was chosen right away. My sister Melissa was also chosen that day. Candace had to wait because she was only 4. So the agent said, bring her back when she's 6. Um, but the agent, her name is Iris Burton, and she didn't choose me that day. And so as a little girl, I really wasn't understanding, but the agent did say, bring Bridgette back in a couple of years because I needed some work with my teeth and braces and all of that. So there was never a fully closed door when I was young. It was just bring her back when her braces come off. And so I always had that kind of in the back of my head. But again, as I had mentioned earlier, my mom would bring us to set. My mom would, bring us anywhere that she could when Kirk or Candace was doing an appearance or anything. So I was on the set all the time. I was doing background work as an extra. It was just so much fun. So when I was little, I never really had that moment of, jealousy or anger or anything like that because I was also just, in the middle of it with my siblings. But it wasn't until I got older that I actually, when my braces did come off, I really got to audition for one of the most perfect auditions that I thought this was going to be it. This was going to change my direction of where I was going to go, as a young adult. And I got to audition for the Los Angeles traveling musical of The Wizard of Oz.
Wow.
And because I love theater so much, I love dancing and acting and singing and all of that. When I got to audition for this, I called my mom and I said, Mom, this is incredible. I mean, during the audition, the choreographer pulled me out separately from the group and taught me a completely different dance routine all by myself. And when we were done, she looked at me and she said, You nailed that audition. You better be ready to go on tour. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it for me. And about a week later, I got a call from my agent telling me, you didn't get it. And I
Mm.
think that was the moment because I was in my mid 20s. I think that was the moment where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't
Mm.
want to keep hearing all of these no's and these doors closing. And God, why aren't you why can't I do what Kirk and Candace are doing? I mean, during, growing up, I'm watching their careers grow and watching them do all the things that I wanted to do.
Right.
And they didn't even really want to do it. And so
Mm.
that was when it shifted for me. And I
Yeah.
thought, God, have you overlooked me? Have you forgotten about me?
Mm.
And you've given me all the talents and all the gifts. You created me. So
Yeah.
when do I get to use all the things that I would love to do and watch my siblings do? Um, and it was in one significant moment in my life in 2015 where that that all shifted, and it's where I really surrendered my life to Christ and gave it to Him, and that was the turning point for me that God hasn't forgotten about me.
Yeah. Gosh, so powerful. And I would love to just, let's just like roll into that because
Okay.
I do know that that was that pivotal moment and you talk about that. But tell our listeners what happened
Yeah.
in in that time.
Yeah, in 2015, my husband John and I and our 3 children, we were on a road trip. My brother was co-hosting the K-Love Awards. Some of your listeners might have seen the Christmas movie I did with Kirk called Saving Christmas. I play his sister in the movie, and Saving Christmas was up for several K-Love Awards. So Kirk said, Bridgette, why don't you join me there? And I said, great. He's like, bring John, the kids, everybody. So growing up, we traveled as a family. We road tripped. We have an old VW bus that we would go in. And I thought, John, what a great time that was for me. Let's do that with our kids. So we went from Palm Springs to Nashville, Tennessee. And when we were in Groom, Texas, we came through a dirt storm. And it was pretty bad. I mean, you and I being here from the desert, we know what dirt storms are like. We
Right.
know what they can be, but this was something different.
Mhm.
And when we eventually got into the middle of the storm, John was driving. Our son Everett was in the front passenger. Our
Oh,
son Cameron was in the back seat, and I was in the back seat as well with him. And then our daughter Reese was in the third row. And so when we got into this dirt storm, it completely blocked out our car. We could not see any further than the front windshield. And so John started to slow down. And this was a 2-lane highway on Highway 10. So
yeah.
2 lanes going each direction. And John started to slow down. And eventually we came to a stop and we could see the hazards of a semi truck in front of us. The
Mhm.
truck was stopped, his hazards were on, and we stopped behind him. And within seconds, John looked at me in the back seat and said, I don't feel comfortable sitting here. And I
Mhm.
said, okay. And he goes, I need to move the car. I said, okay. And what felt like literally our car lifted up off the ground and sat us down next to the semi, no more than seconds after John had moved the car or whatever moved our car,
Uh-huh.
a semi truck coming full speed from behind us slammed into the semi that we were just behind. And that truck's cab exploded. And it was really like a Hollywood movie. That's like the best way that I can describe it. It was only feet from us. We were inside our car, but the flames and the fire and the heat from that explosion was something I will never forget. I started screaming, and God told me to pull Reese to the second row with Cameron and I. And so I said, Reese, get up here. And I sat her in, buckled her in, and no more then seconds after that, another semi truck going full speed came from behind, slammed into the back of our car, wedged his truck in between our car and the semi that was on fire. And we were stuck on the driver's side. We couldn't get out. And so the driver of that second truck jumped on the hood of our car and told us to get out because everything was on fire.
Mm.
And I'll never forget, in the midst of this dirt storm, we were also now in the thick of this smoke, this black smoke from the fire and the heat from the flames. We were able to get out of the passenger side. And I just remember yelling and screaming for my kids to run, just run. And I could hear voices in the distance. And I just kept saying, run to the voices, run to the voices. And so they did. And anyway, we all got out safely by the grace of God.
Yes, yeah.
There was one tragedy, one fatality of the gentleman that hit first.
Mm.
He died. But in that moment, I kept I kept seeing Jeremiah 29:11 in my visual over and over and over again. And in that moment, I could not tell you what that Bible verse was. I knew it was a Bible verse, but there was no way I could have remembered what it was in that moment. But I knew God was trying to tell me something. And eventually we were taken to the nearest motel. Everything in our car was gone, our belongings, everything, because the cars were on fire. Um, but when I got to the motel, I knew there was a Bible in the motel, and I
Mhm.
could not shake this Jeremiah 29:11. And so
Mhm.
when I burst through the doors, I opened up the Bible, and there in oh, I still get emotional
I
because
know, I'm getting
God,
emotional listening to this.
God gave me my life verse that day. Jeremiah 29:11 says, For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, not to harm you, but to prosper you, to give you hope and a future. And I fell to my knees. And that's when God said to me, I heard him whisper, Bridgette, I've never forgotten you. I've
Mm.
never overlooked you. I have all these plans and all these things that I want to give you and share, but you've got to trust me that it's in my timing that I'm going to open those doors for you.
Mhm.
And that was the pivotal moment. That was the turning point for me, where all of the jealousy, all of the, you know, seeing my brother and sister doing all those things, I surrendered and I said, okay, Lord, I trust you.
Mhm.
I trust you.
Yeah.
And that's when it all kind of shifted for me.
Right. Right.
So,
Ooh, so powerful. I remember when this happened and oh gosh, it brought back something that had happened to our family. Believe it or not, I was moving to Texas and we were in New Mexico when something like this happened and it forever changed our lives as well.
Wow.
But listening to this story, these are the moments in life that you just go, we were saved by the grace of God in that moment. And,
Absolutely.
we never know why. We never know, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there was a fatality. And so that, it's just, it's hard to process these things. It's hard to
Yeah.
process, but I love, and that was a part of your story that I just love so much that you didn't know that verse necessarily. Like it just was coming to you. And the fact that you went and you looked that up as soon as you got into that motel room and what a verse that was. And from that point
Yeah.
on, just seeing life unfold for you, even and what has transpired since then, it really is just, man, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's a place where it gives humans hope and
Yeah.
to know that none of us are being overlooked, in my opinion. And I know that it can be hard, especially in today's world. We can get into the hustle, we get into even just social media, just all the things. I mean, life and the world is pretty heavy right now.
Yeah.
So, in that timing, as life began to unfold, because obviously there was a grieving process, there was a processing time just to walk through what it was that you walked through. How did you learn to trust God's timing more and be at peace in some of these seasons from that point until now?
It was really just, you know, growing my faith and growing my relationship with the Lord and getting in God's word and reading his promises, hearing his promises. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's story is different. No two stories are the same. And I think for me, just hearing God say, Bridgette, I've got a plan for you. I trusted that. I trusted him in that. And I knew that the season that God had me in, because I was also struggling with not only just, feeling overlooked and feeling like, have you forgotten about me? There was a time when I was a stay at home mom raising young children, and I thought, is this it? Is this what you have planned for me? There's so much that I want to do and I want to, learn and experience, but God, is this it for me?
Mhm.
And now, and that was some of my jealousy and all the feels
Yeah.
that, are not from the Lord. But I look back on that now and
Mm,
I think, my goodness, I would not trade those moments of being with my children for
mm,
the world,
mhm,
because it's so important in this world that we're in today, is raising our children, in God's word, raising them to know, to find their identity in Christ and not the culture. And I think, for the moms maybe that are listening that might be in that time right now of raising their little ones or whatever, it's like, do not wish this season to be over for a minute, because these are the most important times we as moms can have with our children. And Noelle, I know that you can agree. Your children grow up so fast, and in a blink they're gone.
I know.
My three kids are I'm almost an empty nester now, and I'm sure your children are too. And it's like,
Right.
where did the time go? And can I get that time back? Can I have them come home and let me cuddle them and love on them and do all those things? And so,
Right.
it's just being knowing that God has you exactly where he wants you right now.
Mm,
And if he's going to open those doors for you, he will, bigger and better than you can imagine. but
So
don't
true.
ever think that he's forgotten about you, because he may open doors that you never thought you
Mm,
would do, or you would see, or you would go, or you would inspire somebody. Let
right.
God write your story,
Yeah.
you
So
know?
good. So good because I mean, so many of our listeners are obviously women, and so many of them are women that are in this same season that we're in, whether they were stay-at-home moms or maybe they had a career, but they're at this place, this crossroads in a way that, either they're close to becoming an empty nester or they are an empty nester, and all of a sudden I get these questions from women and just women in their fields of going, have I missed my moment? Have I
Mhm.
missed this time? And
Yeah.
have I been the one that's just been behind the scenes? And now they are, feeling this desire to go, I'm not ready to just be done.
Yeah.
And this is where I go, it's like this beautiful unfolding that happens.
Mhm.
And, I know that I think we even met through the school that I taught at and your kids
Mhm.
went to years ago, obviously.
Yeah.
And because our kids, now mine is 23, and then I have a 16-year-old that is going to be a junior next year. So right in the thick of it all, and preparing for that
Mhm.
time. But I had always wanted, I knew that teaching was what I was called to do. And I did it for 25 years and I loved it. But I have to say, I was kind of at that point, and it was just after the pandemic, and I was just really feeling this, what is still out there for me? I feel like
Mhm.
there's more, and
Yeah.
that's why I love your story too, because it's like we went for, we got the call and we took it and we took that leap of faith and we went for it. However, I can look hindsight now and go, all of that prepared me.
Mhm.
All of that was so beautiful in the time that even the time that I was struggling in it, I go, I would not be where I am today had I not had those experiences, had I not been through those things. And I agree. Like now I go, there's so much more to look forward to. And I feel like it changes the lens a little bit because we go, man, time, first of all, we recognize, and especially going through what you had gone through in 2015, there's moments in life that we go, whoa, like time is precious. We
Mhm.
truly do not know how much time we have on
Mhm.
this earth. And
Yeah.
I know that I want to spend every day laying my head on the pillow at night going, I lived that out to the best of my ability.
Mhm.
And I cherish the people around me and the experiences that were coming. And yeah, it really is just a unique time when we get to that space. Because I look at our kid, and maybe you feel this way too. Do you look at your kids and it's almost like they feel like the whole world is in front of them still, and it's like
Yeah.
time is not so it's like they're just living, and then it's like then there's us that we're like I had my family here yesterday, and I'm so thrilled. Part of the reason why we're here out of the desert and where we're at now is because my daughter is here getting her master's, and I just was like, I just want to be close to you guys, I just want to
Yeah.
cherish because I know that once you guys get older, you're gonna have your families, you're gonna be doing your things. They're like, yeah, yeah, mom.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay, mom,
know.
don't get so sappy on us here.
They're just, kids these days, they're just in their world. And it's just
Yeah.
like, it's interesting to, say, but you don't, when you get older, I mean, I don't know. I always say, you'll never know until you're a mom, or you'll never know
I do it
until
too.
you get married, and all that. But I did want to just touch on one thing that you did say about social media. Um,
Mm,
in the world we are in today, social media can be so heavy.
yeah.
And social media is great. I mean, I'm all over social media. If
Me
your if
me
your
too.
listeners want to follow me, you can find me on social media anywhere.
Right.
But social media can also steal your joy.
Mm,
And
yes.
comparison is
Hmm.
huge. And I mean, I mean, I can sit here and say, don't compare yourself to anybody. I compare myself to people on social media all the time.
Mhm.
I look at some of these other speakers and some of these, women's conferences and events that I want to do. And I'm, seeing these people, do it and this and that.
Right.
And, um, it again, when I get that in my head, like I got some things right now going on in my head that
Mhm.
I'm praying about and waiting for the Lord on. I just have to remember that God's in control.
Yeah.
And um, and I ask myself, Bridgette, are you praying in the waiting when you're waiting for the Lord to give you
Mm.
those answers? But with social media, it's hard because even our young adults are comparing themselves to
Yeah.
some of these influencer and some of these people that have all these followers and this and that can get really heavy and in their head. And you know, I think if social media is something that you want to do, then great, because again, I do love it for certain reasons.
Really.
Um, but I do think there's a time where you need to step away and you need
Mm.
to shut it all down and you need to get closer with God. You need to get closer with the girlfriends that you can call and say, hey, I need prayer or I need to talk or can we go to coffee? Just step
Yeah.
away from social media completely, and just kind of do a refresh, just kind of do, a cleansing or something of
Yeah.
it because, I'm all for, oh gosh, the word just completely lost me. Um, uh, like a spa day or like a, massage day or
Right.
what's the word? What's the word?
Like for your self-care and
Yeah,
yeah.
a self-care day.
Yeah.
That's it. Do yourself a favor and
Yeah.
have yourself a self-care day and get off of social media.
Mhm.
When you wake up, um, don't get on your phone and start scrolling because before you know it, hours are going to be gone and you're going to be like, I just wasted half my morning. You
Oh,
know, get
true.
some things done, do that. But yeah, just
No, I love that, Bridget. And this is a perfect segue into what I love that I watch you do. I feel like as moms, there's so many, we have lots of mutual friends that I feel like, we're kind of all in the thick of this. And one thing that is so beautiful is that you are an example to your
mm,
kids and you are doing the thing. Like you went through the hard, you experienced some of what you experienced and you went through beautiful too, and you
mhm,
had, but you have also raised your children to now see that yes, we can do the hard things.
mhm,
And yes, with God, we can do the hard things. And now they get to see their mom be brave and step into some of the uncomfortable things and write a book and be speaking, and really, I mean, even though you have always been one that's loved the entertainment and you haven't been, necessarily the one that's shy from the camera, but you're doing things that are now that it's one thing to be a character. And maybe I'm wrong in this, but I'm thinking like it's one thing to be a character, but you are putting yourself out there. This is your story. This is you being vulnerable. This is you showing up in as you, and your kids get to see that. And I am sure, I have no doubt that they are so proud of you and they're watching and
mm,
they're on the sidelines going, man, this is gonna, maybe not today, and maybe they're not saying it today, but like I feel like that later even they're going to go, okay, but my mom was able to do that. Like my parents did that. We got through that. And that I just feel like it's all of those seeds that we can plant
mhm.
that make such a difference. And
Yeah.
again, just being a woman of faith as well, I go, God, you entrusted me with these kids.
Mhm.
And these are the things that even when it gets hard for me, because I'm with you, oh my gosh, am I with you? I go, oh, I so want to say, don't compare yourself. I mean, just when you were speaking those words, I was going, oh my gosh, are you in my ear? Are you in my head? Because I feel it too all the time. And so leading into this book that you chose to write, you know, I would love to hear just what was it that really inspired you? I mean, I know, but what inspired you to write this? And what was the writing process like for you, emotionally? Was there a healing to this? Was there, how did it come up? So I guess my question would be, how did it come about?
Mhm.
And what was the process like for you when you were doing it?
Yeah, it really started once I started speaking. Um, I didn't have the book, but I would have so many women come up to me after I was done, and they would say, "My friend couldn't be here today. Do you have a book that I could buy?" And I thought,
Mhm.
no, I don't have a book. And I've been told by other people, you don't need a book to go do any speaking events, like
Right.
just go and talk. But it was just kind of a process. And finally, again, God put on my heart, Bridgette, it's time.
Mm.
And so I was connected through a mutual friend to an amazing co-writer, Renee Gutteridge. And it's funny because when she and I had our first conversation, she said, "Bridgette, I have to tell you, when my friend told me that she knew someone that wanted to write a memoir, and she asked if I would be interested in doing it, she said, I told her no. I said, I don't write memoirs. And she said, just talk to this woman. She told our mutual friend told Renee nothing about me, nothing about my family, nothing about my story. And
Mhm.
Renee just kept saying no. And her friend, our mutual friend, kept saying, just talk to her, just talk to her. So she's like, Bridgette, here I am. We're talking. Tell me your story. Tell me what it is. Tell me what your memoir is about. And
Right.
so I did. I shared it with her. And I could hear that she was crying.
Mm.
And she said, Bridgette, she said, I have tears in my eyes, and God is telling me to help you write your story. And she said, I kept saying no. And God obviously kept putting you on my heart and
Mm.
having, knocking on that door saying, you need to talk to her. You need to talk to her. You need to talk to her. And she's like, I want to help you write your story. So she and I got together, and for me, it was an incredible experience, because she helped me get all the thoughts in my head and all the stories in my head of my childhood and growing up, and the fun stories and the crazy stories of Hollywood. I had them all in my head, but she
Mm.
helped me get them on paper.
Yeah.
And the one thing I love about Overlooked is the way that it was written, that when we wrote it together, people say to me all the time, Bridgette, when I was reading it, I could totally hear your voice. I could totally hear you
So true.
saying these stories. It was like you were sitting across a table telling me these stories. And that's how I wanted Overlooked to be. I
Mm.
didn't want it to be this long novel or anything. I wanted it to capture the reader in the beginning and have it sound like two friends are just sitting together sharing their stories. And that's Overlooked. And never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I would write a book and I would be going around and sharing my story. And I'm so thankful um, for it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I the accident story. If if I didn't have the stories that God gave me, the good or the bad or the terrible or whatever, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Mhm.
And so I'm thankful
Yeah.
that God gave me the stories that He did, that He wrote my story perfectly for me, to be able to go out and speak and encourage women, and men too. I mean, sometimes I have men in the audience that come up and they say how my story has touched them.
I love that. I love that because you do, you're out there, and I have to say I would fully agree with that statement that it is such a beautiful read because it is absolutely as though you are having a conversation with you. And that's what I love too. There's this beautiful ease to the book, and it's but yet there's these profound beautiful stories as well. And it's so well written. It's such a great read. I remember gifting it to some of my family members, and we got to have conversations about it. And it's fun, but it also has these elements that are so beautiful, and it's just so great for other people to read. And like you said, even for men, like
Yeah.
to be able to capture that story. And so, what has been the most fulfilling part of stepping into this voice after years of feeling overlooked? Like, what does it feel like now?
I never wanted this book to really be about me at all. I wanted it to encourage women, um, encourage men who have felt the way that I have. I'm sure most or all of your listeners will say, I have felt overlooked at one point in my life, whether it be from a spouse or a coworker or, kids, something. I, the most the most fulfilling part for me is when I get to meet women or men after I speak and in their tears, because I always pray before I speak and I ask God to show me just one person that I've touched today. If I can touch one person, I've done your work.
Mhm.
And without a shadow of a doubt, there is one person that will meet me afterwards. And in their tears, they just tell me, you have inspired me. You have, changed the way that I look at my life. It's funny too, because there's so many stories in Overlooked. I mean, I have you laughing, I have you crying, I have
Yes,
you, going through like all the
exactly.
feels. And the stories that I think are so impactful aren't those aren't the ones that are impactful to the women that come up to me and they go, when you shared this story,
Right.
I felt like you were talking to me. And I go, really? I go, that story touched you? I'm like, okay. But like everybody's story is different. And you
Totally.
never know, the journey that we're all on, that it's just like, yeah, I went through that with my son. I went through this with my daughter. There's a beautiful, beautiful story about my miracle miscarriage that I
Right.
had. And, I mean, that's a beautiful story that I
Yeah.
talk about. And so there's just so many different stories in here that will touch people and can relate to people. And
I
so
think
that's what's
that's where you nail it on the head right there. Is it's so relatable. And maybe it's not every single story, but I will tell you there were several that, from the accident to the miscarriage, like I mean, just so and even just your fun stories, some of your fun stories that I go, oh my gosh, I so relate to this. And that is what I love about this book is that you feel all the emotions. You're exactly right. There's like it's like this. You're just like this. And but yet at
you're
the
a
same
child of the 80s or the
yeah,
90s, man, you're going to go there too. So you're going to be like,
exactly.
whoa. The pictures
No.
are great too. The pictures I have in the book are so
Yes,
great. Those
right?
will take you back a little bit too. So
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, again, I feel like, oh my gosh, this conversation just rolls right into the next part because we do have we started a new segment and it's called Rapid Fire, where we typically are just asking some questions, but I decided, I was like, you know what? I would love to also get our audience involved and
yeah.
they're able to ask some questions. So there's some questions from our listeners that we've gathered up, and
Okay.
are you
All
ready
right.
to have a little fun with us today?
Let's go. Let's
All
go.
right, girl. Okay, so one of the first questions, TV show you secretly love to binge watch now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I binge watch Say Yes to the Dress.
Oh, okay.
TLC's Yes to the Say Yes to the Dress. Oh my gosh. I cry when I watch this show. When these girls are trying on their wedding dresses for the first
Right.
time and they get that moment and I'm just like I'm crying, I'm thinking about my daughter who's 19 years old and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that's going to be her up there and that's my secret. That's my
I love
secret.
it.
Um
I
yeah.
love it. I
Yeah.
totally love that. And that is so fun. And I am the same. And by the way, you looked absolutely gorgeous because you just renewed your vows not long
We did.
ago.
We
Oh,
did. My husband and I, we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary
yes.
and we had a surprise vow renewal. celebration. And it was so much fun because none of our guests knew that we were going to renew our vows. I kept it a secret for over a year, and
Oh
it was
my gosh.
driving me crazy. The only people that knew was like my mom, my sister-in-law, and like one of my best girlfriends. Some of my other best girlfriends didn't even know because I thought if I tell too many people, it's going to get out. And I didn't tell any other family. My brother Kirk was so gracious to be the officiant and do that, and it was it was amazing and it was beautiful. And I'm I'm just very blessed that I could do that with my husband
So great.
again.
So
So,
good.
yeah.
So good. So, yes, you looked beautiful and
Well, thank
congratulations.
you.
We're so happy for you. You got a good one. You got a good one for sure. Okay, so favorite 80s or 90s, and I am gonna put song or group.
New Kids on the Block.
Of course. I knew this. And of course, and so I was so excited when I saw that question because I was like, I know what she's going to say. Because again, I relate to you. I was absolutely at their concert my freshman year. I'll never forget it. I had a huge sign, which makes me laugh hysterically now. My best friend and I had this huge sign. We put Rock Us Boston style and had this huge sign. People in back of us were so mad at us. I literally thought my brother played a joke on me right before we left to go that night to the concert. And, of course, it's my parents and, siblings. And my brother was like, just to let you know, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but mom got you guys backstage passes. To say that I was devastated that he was totally playing a prank on me would be an
Oh my.
understatement. I was like, you cannot do this to me. I was like, I want to still be excited that I'm going, but I was so devastated because he was like, okay, I was kidding. I was kidding. I thought, no, you don't do that to a girl that loves New Kids on the Block. So I
Yeah.
do have to ask you, here's my other little question. Favorite member of New Kids on the Block? Do you
Oh
have,
my God.
can you
You're
actually
gonna
choose like I know. I'll even
you're gonna
say
go
if
there.
you don't want to go there, I
No, I
understand.
will. I will go there.
Okay.
My favorite was Jonathan.
Oh,
Jonathan. Yeah,
that's
he was
precious.
my favorite. But I have to backtrack a little bit because
Okay.
when I was in junior high, my favorite group was Duran Duran. And
Same.
I had
Same.
the big pin like on my shirt, like the big one. So
Right.
Duran Duran was my group back in junior high.
It's crazy.
But then, of course, New Kids on the Block. And a funny story. So I actually got to meet Duran Duran at a work event. They
Okay.
were doing a meet and greet, and I was working at the restaurant next door. And so I called my best girlfriend from, my childhood best friend, and I said, Duran Duran is coming to my work and they're doing a meet and greet. Do you want to come with me? And she was like, yes. So she and I actually got to meet Duran Duran and take a picture. And I was like, oh my word, like I'm totally fangirling right now. But it was so great. But yeah, so I would have
Right.
to say Duran Duran and John. John? Is that? Oh my
Yes, John. Yes.
Duran Duran. Okay, so
Of
that was
course.
my favorite. And then
Same.
New
Stop it.
Kids on the Block, Jonathan.
Okay, that's so funny because John was absolutely my favorite. Duran Duran was totally my band until New Kids on the Block came around. Not that
That's
don't love them, but uh, I remember, and it was so funny because you know how back in the day, I don't know if you guys did this too, but like your girlfriends all picked like the ones that were like their guy.
oh
And
yeah.
so, all of them picked their guy. And I remember like, there was a couple left. I won't mention who they were, but I did choose out of those because I was like the one that I probably really wanted the most was Jordan, but he got taken. So I was like, okay, Danny's my guy, and it's hilarious because my mom was like, no, she was like, no, he's the bad one. He's like the rebel. No, you got to go for the nice guy. And I just remember her always like kind of, in a joking way, just going, of
Yeah.
course, the bad guy, and but now it's so funny because I've seen them all evolve and I go, my gosh, like, they're all just like precious and
Yeah.
what they're all doing in their lives like is so cool and just,
Yeah.
it's so fun to
And I
follow.
I actually got to see them again when Candace was doing Fuller House, and they were a guest star. They were guest stars
Yes,
on Fuller House.
yes,
So
yes.
she secretly, for my birthday, asked me to come down to the set, and I was like,
Yep.
"Oh, that's so sweet." And I go, and it was the episode that she was filming with New Kids on the Block, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, "Bridgette, come here!" So I got to say hi to all of them. So it was super fun,
So
and
fun.
yeah,
So fun.
and Jonathan remembered me, so I thought,
Oh,
"Oh,
that's a moment. That's a moment. And I was sitting here going, oh my gosh, I just said Danny. And it was only because I was thinking of Danny and his cooking show. Donnie
Donnie,
was my guy.
Donnie." Okay,
Donnie. I
yeah.
was saying, I was thinking of all of them and I was
Yeah.
like, no, it was
Donnie's the
Donnie.
bad boy.
Donnie.
Donnie.
Oh gosh, he was the bad boy. He like destroyed hotel rooms. I mean, goodness.
I know.
But
I
I
know.
just love all the things that they do now. And it's so fun. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple more questions.
Okay.
Um, someone had asked, I've seen you work with your brother Kirk, but do you ever see yourself doing a project with your sister Candace?
I would love to do a project with her. I would love to be on her podcast. I've had so many people ask me, when are you going to do an episode with your sister? I would love to if that opportunity came up. Back in the day, I did do some stuff with Candace on Full House.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, yeah, I mean, if the opportunity came up, to do anything with her. I actually got to work with her daughter Natasha on a movie.
Mm,
I was working on a movie, Farmer in the Bell Saving Santa Land, and Natasha had a part in the movie, and so we actually got to be together on set for a few
so
days. So that
fun.
was fun. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I would love to. I would love to.
Awesome.
I would love to work
Awesome.
with her.
I
So
love that. I love
yeah.
that. Someone else said something people would be surprised to know about you.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. The only thing that like really comes to mind is I'm only 4'11".
Okay. Okay.
I'm only
People
4'11".
might not realize that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm the petite one. I'm the shortest of the family. All my siblings are much taller than I am. So I think that would be something that people might not know.
Yeah.
Um, Gosh, I'm thinking if there's anything right off the top of my head that I could think of. I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. Well,
But I
that's
think that
fair
would be it.
because that could be it for sure. And then my final question for you today is if you could leave one final message for every woman listening who's in a
Hmm.
season of waiting or wondering, what would it be?
Well, I would love to leave them with this quote from one of my favorite authors, Vinitha Randall Reisner. The most precious word that God can give us is wait, because
Mm,
it draws us closer to Him rather than the outcome. And I love that because in our waiting, in our silence, God wants nothing more than for us to draw closer to Him and pray in the waiting,
mm,
and kind of try and silence out all that what gets in our head, you
yeah.
know. um and again, as I mentioned earlier, enjoy the season that God has you in, because you never know where God can bring you, take you. Enjoy the moment that you're in.
Mm,
And excuse me, just know that God sees you. God hears you. God knows your thoughts before you do. I mean, my goodness, He created us. So draw close to Him, um, and pray in your waiting, and just know that God writes a better story than we do. So give God the pen. Let Him write your story.
Love that. Love that. So good. Bridgette, thank you so much for just
Oh,
showing up today, just so honestly and beautifully. Your story really just reminds us that being overlooked by the world never means being overlooked by God. And in fact, sometimes the very seasons like what we were talking about that feel hidden are actually the ones where He's doing
mm,
His deepest work. And I
yep.
just want to say to every woman listening, if you have ever felt unseen or unsure, or like your purpose got lost in the shuffle of life, I hope that today reminded you that your stories matter and that you matter. So please, please be sure to grab, if you don't already have it, grab a copy of Bridgette's book, Overlooked. We'll have that in the show notes. We'll have those links. Bridgette, is there anything else that you wanted to share of where we can be in touch with you? I know you mentioned social media, but any other projects, anything that we should be on the lookout for as well?
Yeah, I mean, social media, you can find me. You can go to bridgettecameron.com. You can, scroll around my website. But if you are someone who's listening who has a women's group, who has women events in your area, conferences, women's teas, whatever it is, and if your church or conference or group is looking for a public speaker, reach out. I would love to chat with you. I would love to talk about the opportunity about coming and sharing my story and doing a conference with your ladies. But, don't give up. God sees you, God hears you, and He's got big plans for you.
Love that. Well, if this episode spoke to you, we would love to hear from you. So, of course, tag us on social media, share your favorite moment, share your favorite 80s rock band that you loved, whatever it is. We'd love to keep the conversation going. And I just want to say again, thank you so much. And until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and know that today is right here waiting for you to embrace it. Bye, friends. See you next week. Thanks for joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review, and don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.